Hey guys, I'm Element.
And I'm Choco, and together we are
the DYAD in the Force. This is the finale of The Last of Us. Danielle,
I'm scared.
How are you guys doing?
Concerned.
I'm very excited.
Excited, concerned, fun, and easy, right?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be light and breezy, you know. I believe they're gonna ride off into the sunset. There's not a Last of Us Part 2, is there? There can't be any more story after this, right?
As always, timestamps are in the description. Click it if you want to go straight to it. Do we have any thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be some strife going in, but I know enough to know something about the end result. But I haven't played the game, so I have no idea what is remaining in here. I'm shocked that a game of this size and magnitude is limited to this few episodes of a show. And I'm curious if you guys think the pacing of the show and the pacing of how it divvied up the contents of the game, if it worked, do we need more? Should we have had less?
I think that, so I've asked myself this question a lot this past week. If they had any more episodes, it would be unnecessary filler. Everything that needs to happen to get to the end has happened. I don't know that there's much more they could tell with this story, given the way that it is. And so even though I would love to have spent more time with Joel and Ellie as they were crossing the country, what more would that have added to the story, I guess, other than, you know, them talking a little bit more, which we've already gotten quite a bit of.
I'm on the same page. I think a lot of the stuff that pads out the runtime or the playtime of a game is the gameplay elements. And what they've done with this show is...
It restarts when you die.
Yeah. And what they've done with this show is that instead of giving us some gameplay elements, they've given us Easter eggs of the game, but given us more on other things. We've seen a lot more set up in perspective from different people. We've seen flashbacks from different perspectives of Zero Day. We've actually coincidentally gotten more narrative than the game, because the game itself just has a lot more gameplay for the time. It's interesting that it has been short for a season, but yeah, we have gotten more, actually.
I really hope that this episode starts with another world building cold open, because the first two that we got like shook me, you know?
There's one thought, and I've expressed it to you, that I have based on like just my very vague and loose knowledge of part 2, which is like next to nothing. But I know one key thing about it that it makes me really concerned. And, you know, everything I've seen about part 2, which is like zero context to like what's actually happening in part 2, from all the discussions, everything's around Ellie. And that's concerning for me in a mild way, right? Because I don't see anything involving Joel. So
it's kind of like us when we were like, where's Echo? I mean, I don't know if you watch our reactions, Danielle, but we're always, how's Danielle doing right now?
Is she okay?
Yeah. But so that's where I'm sitting, is it's like everything that I've seen, and it could just be that what I've seen has just been so limited, right? But it's like, there's a part of me that's worried.
Fair enough.
But that's exactly what I was thinking of, something that, because I thought that happens in part 2. No? Never mind.
We will neither confirm nor deny anything, nor comment on you guys' speculations. So, with that said, let's get into the season finale of The Last of Us.
Wild to see like old Joel versus old Joe.
All right, so they're reminding us that clickers exist.
Made you a test tape.
And
So
duration
don't
of
blame me for
infection.
something that isn't my fault.
We're also going all the way back.
How'd you get that scar on your head?
And then it dawned on me.
Feel free to wait in the truck.
If you don't think there's hope for the world, why bother going on?
I can't wait to go back and do like a binge watch of the whole season.
Oh yeah.
My heart can handle binge watching this show.
I'll just be miserable the whole time. It's okay.
Everybody I have cared
Go through an
for
entire box of
has either
tissues.
died or left me.
Oh. That was a horrible Chewy. Sorry.
Well, that was good. Yep.
It is her, huh?
Ashley.
I love Ashley so much.
Try not to sound like Ellie, Ashley.
Oh, that's impossible. Her natural voice is Ellie's voice.
I don't know. Even her exertions sound like her.
Yeah. Oh. That is not gonna hold.
Okay, but like, Ashley Johnson looks like Bella Ramsey.
Yeah.
Wait a
Ellie's
minute.
nice. Oh. Oh. Ugh. Ugh. Oh. Baby. Ellie.
That is a weird way to deliver.
So much exertion that you just.
Oh. Oh. The cord's still attached. Is that how she's a man?
Don't tell me that's Ellie's mom. Is this a flashback?
I mean, this is the way it's shaping up. This looks to be the circumstances behind her birth.
Mm-hmm.
You fucking tell Nelly.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. She's like, I'll try.
I'll take that knife now.
It's so sad though, because she.
The voice of Ellie birthing show Ellie.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that was great.
I'm happy they ended it there because I didn't want to see what happens after that.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd heard the rumor that she was going to be
I heard a rumor.
starring as Ellie's mom in a flashback. Makes sense now.
Yeah, sorry if I spoiled that. I knew. Marlene.
Oh, okay. This is when
Huh.
she finds her.
Did you jinx it, Choco?
Yeah, I did.
Thanks, Brandon.
Had I not said that, this wouldn't have shown.
Yeah, we'd be back with
All
Joel
your
Ellie
fault.
right now. Be in a
All
different
your fault.
reality.
Tess would still be alive.
She wouldn't
This
have
was
had to
one
kiss
of
that
those time
random.
junctions.
We're on the worst timeline. Give the baby her knife.
You're supposed to cover her ears.
Thanks for the tears at the beginning, Choco.
But they do look like they could be mother and daughter, though. That's. So I feel like that could be why she got cast.
What?
I found this in there. Beefaroni, Chef Boyardee.
Call back.
Tim, his
you
default
ever
state
played
is
this?
smiling now.
Boggle?
Yep.
It's a word game.
A lot more talkative now, too.
Well, all right.
I mean, he just pulled her off of stabbing a guy.
Hospital that way.
So the natural, it follows. Boggle?
He's trying to add some levity. You know?
Did it say there was a time jump and I'm just dumb?
No, it didn't say, but I think it's implied that it's been at least
Well, I mean, it's no longer
at
winter.
least like a couple weeks. Something like that.
Actually, this time I was thinking we'd blast our way through that rubble. I found some dynamite in that RV back there.
Really?
No, so we're gonna cut through that building, find the skyscraper, and look around. I had you going, didn't I?
Feels like a role reversal right now.
Yeah.
It's a game mechanic.
Come on, I'll give you a boost.
Ladder drop.
And this is the player, like, not going over them and pressing triangle.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm reading lore quick.
we gonna do it?
Whoa.
Damn it, Ellie! You stay there!
I think she sees it.
You gotta see this.
Ellie!
Oh, I won't survive it.
What does she see?
Now you know what I mean by giraffe scene music.
It's all right. Come here, hurry up. Come on.
Ain't you ever feed a giraffe before?
He's there.
She gets to be a kid for a moment.
That's all Joel wants for her.
If that's also legitimately Bella Ramsey's first time seeing a giraffe up close.
Sorry, I can't think of anything but crying.
I'm so glad that they didn't have to run through spores of.
I don't know exactly where this hospital is.
Yeah, we'll find it.
I want you to know that.
What do you mean? What else are we supposed to do?
Nothing. We just go back to Tommy's. We forget about the whole damn thing.
The moon?
Shut up.
How's Danielle doing? Oh wait, she's here.
He wants her to be a kid, and she's like, I'm not, though.
Yeah. Circumstances make it to where she is not.
And I couldn't see the point anymore. Simple as that. It went out. When I went to pull the trigger, I flinched. Still don't know why.
Not all.
It wasn't time that did it.
Sorry.
You're good. You're good.
I think I just broke.
You know, they both have scars by their eyes now.
Yeah.
Shitty puns.
Thank you.
Not Choco using one of these puns in a supernatural reaction.
Oh.
Topical.
Oh, I love this one. Moon rocks taste better than Earth rocks. Why? Because they're meteor.
That's terrible.
Oh,
That's
fuck
a
you.
that-
That was
that's a 0 out of 10.
all right. Give me the green grape.
That's a 3 out of 10.
7.
Maybe a 5 out of 10.
Oh, shit.
Why though?
No, they didn't know who they were.
Where's Ellie?
Our doctor. He thinks that the cordyceps in Ellie has grown with her since birth.
Why is she in surgery?
It produces a kind of chemical messenger.
I wonder if they'll still give me my favorite part.
I'm trying to think of what your favorite part is.
It's silly.
I mean, I'm waiting for a Captain America, before before we get started. Does anyone want to get up?
Keep walking. I said keep walking.
No.
For this.
Okay, kinda. Not the full. I ain't got time for this. And into the groin. I'll accept it though. This is an interesting montage style take on this. There's interrogation, Joel. Oh, and he used Ellie's knife to do it. Oh my gosh. Whew.
How did you get in here?
I said unhook her.
I won't let you take her.
Unhook her. Turn around.
I mean, almost exactly as I played it.
You know, you can flamethrow him too.
You flame through him?
No, I've seen someone do it.
Oh,
I was gonna say,
Danielle.
So there are multiple endings?
Danielle, oh my god!
Oh, Joel.
And you know it.
I already killed the doctor, though.
It's not too late. Even now. Even after what you've done.
Turns out there's a whole lot more like you. People that are in
Joel.
here. Dozens of them.
She knows he's lying.
Yes.
Where's home?
I'm sorry, that reminded me of Supernatural, the first episode of the series. Sam says, I'm taking you home.
Sorry.
God damn it, Joel.
You've just come after her.
Never gets easier.
Damn, this is not how I saw that going.
I want to say good.
Yeah. Never be the same.
Well, Sarah and I used to hike like this all the time. I want to say girly, and I'm not saying that you're not girly.
I'm not.
So that
Bet I would have.
I do think they would have liked each other.
I swear.
Okay.
Yeah, they really did it.
Oh, hey. One of the nurses was Laura Bailey.
Really? Nothing
just
like
saw that
Laura
name
Bailey
pop
to
out.
get me out of a mental funk.
How are we doing?
Well, I'm a mess.
Oh, yeah.
Stunned.
I am stunned. But the final episode didn't hit me quite as hard as some of the previous ones did.
I can
But that's
Yeah,
see
because
I
I'm
that.
a
think-
monster.
I can see that too. I think it's an episode that is more of a kind of like emotional culmination of all of the previous episodes rather than bringing anything necessarily new to the forefront. I do wonder if it's an episode that would hit harder on a, like if you did a full, like just straight rewatch for
Rather
people
than
who
like to wait.
haven't played the game. Yeah.
I also think that it's not supposed to hit as hard emotionally. I think a lot of it is just shock
Yeah.
and trying to process because you said that you did not. This wasn't the way you saw it going, and a lot of it is just kind of coming to terms with that.
The toughest thing is like, I feel like on a very primal level, what Joel does is very understandable, right? Because it's like you see somebody, you see his family being taken away, fight like hell and do whatever you can to not have that happen. But those are things that like you think about, right? Of like, oh wow, if anything like that ever happened to me, I'd go crazy and bite somebody's freaking head off, whatever it would take, right? But like then when you actually see that happen and just like the darkness that's surrounding someone during that moment and just like the raw emotionlessness of essentially the Grim Reaper just walking through that hospital, right? Of just no emotion, like, okay, this one's out, grab the next gun, no more bullets. Well, I have this knife. Like, just it's like it was haunting.
Well, it's interesting because there's a lot of things in these fandoms that we love so much that will juxtapose one another. But because our perspective is different, or the story's being told from a different perspective, we come to vastly different conclusions, right? There's all these people who Marlene had grew up with her mom and like knew this thing, and like you really see Joel's perspective, and it's hard to tell if this was the right choice, because I think for me the right choice would be to give agency to the person that would be involved. And so watching, there's all these people who believe this is the way of the future, this is the only way that we can fix this world, and I understand wanting take care of the people you love so much that you're willing to let the world burn. It's just a weird message to get behind.
When I first played through that and came to the ending, I was really pissed that Ellie wasn't able to decide that for herself. And I think we're meant to be in the passenger seat for that, because we're left wondering, especially given that there's a part 2, we're left wondering what are the after effects of this, especially the decision, but also the after effects of him ultimately lying to her. And we all know that she knows it. Swear to me. And he says, I swear. And then same thing, 1-to-1 from the video game. Her eyes shift, like going through all of the possibilities, and we know she knows.
That's why I love the ending of just ending on her saying, okay, because she knows, but she doesn't know. She knows, but she doesn't want to know. So she's not letting herself know. When he tells her that he swears and she says, okay, that really is her deciding to believe him no matter how much she doesn't, if that makes sense, because he's all she has left. He is not only the person she trusts the most and the person she cares about the most, he literally is the only person left in this world that she has. And it's either trust him and believe him, even though she doesn't, or she's on her own. I don't think, she's 14 years old. She's not going to choose to be on her own. That's why I love the power of that ending. It's so short, so simple, but so incredibly powerful. And
I almost threw my controller at the TV.
Yeah. Well, see, when I played it, so I've played part 1 about 6 times. I have a different understanding of it every time I play it. The first time I played it, I was so connected to Joel that I saw that the Fireflies didn't give Ellie a choice, but I didn't see that Joel didn't give Ellie a choice either. And arguably, he knew what her choice would be better than anyone else, like Marlene said. And I didn't realize that until probably like my 3rd playthrough. And I was like, yeah, he took away her choice too. That's what, like, this game just gives you a new perspective. I feel like every time you watch it, or every time you watch the story, you play the story, because you go in knowing things you didn't before, and you can see the links.
Yeah, I feel like ultimately it was the wrong choice, but I think that's the purpose of it. That's the writer trying to put us in this uncomfortable and awkward situation where we are seeing something through the other lens. I haven't played the second game, but from what I understand, they do that again, but harder.
A lot.
Ultimately, this game or this series is all about, the moral ambiguity of The Last of Us.
Mm-hmm.
Where do the lines get drawn when you're the last person alive or trying to survive? It's kind of like when George R.R. Martin talks about Game of Thrones. There's no good guys or bad guys. This is the reality of the situation, and people do horrible things. And this is The Last of Us. There's no winners or losers in this situation. We only have to lean on our biases to forgive or accept what those biases do.
I mean, I think that was super exemplified in the previous episode, where we have this guy who grew up. I mean, from what he says, he was just a non-practicing serial killer.
Yeah.
Like, he's always had that urge, and now he was in a world where that helped him. Oh damn, like, okay, the morality shifted again, especially with the doctor and the nurses and stuff like that. For me, it felt like if Anakin was successful in saving Padme, would that have justified his actions? Because I think it would have. To a lot of people think he's justified anyways. That's exactly where my mind was going as he methodically walked through that hospital, taking down people who were surrendering, who were running away from him.
Yeah. One thing I was really looking forward to and a little bit anxious about with this episode was that hospital scene where he goes on his murderous rampage, which it's hard to call it a rampage because he's so calm about it, which is the scary part.
That was terrifying.
Yeah. But in the game, you don't have to kill everybody. 3 or 4 people you absolutely have to kill. That's the person who's leading you out of the hospital, the doctor, Marlene, and then maybe one or two other fireflies. All the rest is you can sneak around or you can just, run past or whatever. You don't have to kill all of them. And so I was anxious about how they were going to adapt that on here because they have choices, as we've seen with what they do. Any death that's not required, tied to. And I needed them to show him killing as many people as possible in order for it to get through to people that this wasn't necessary. You can understand why he's doing it, but you need to know that it's not necessarily right. I thought they nailed it with what they did.
Agreed.
This wordless montage where all you hear is the shooting and the screaming and the music. Yeah, the footsteps, music, the bullets dropping as he kills people. And Pedro Pascal, I've been saying this all season, phenomenal at playing Joel, phenomenal at showing the absolute blankness and yet determination. I want to call it beautiful, but it was beautiful acting. Beautiful acting.
Yeah.
Well, I also want to go back to what you said about the music because I honestly feel like in anything else, the music is like a huge emotional driver, and the score there wasn't heroic.
Mm-mm.
The whole thing was very matter of fact and distant. It was it's hard to explain, but I fully agree with you. They did a really good job. Yeah,
it was like someone was dying. I mean, people were dying.
Music.
Yeah, it's music you expect to hear when main characters are dying, and a part of Joel maybe. Yeah,
you're watching part of his soul just die.
Yeah,
because that is just a testament to his acting in general and how likable he is as a person outside of the show.
Mm-hmm.
That you're there's a big part of you that's just you want to root for him because you like Joel, especially early on. You like Pedro Pascal, and then you see this stuff and you're there's a huge part of you that just wants to be happy and root for whatever it is that he's trying to go for, but you can't, right? It's just pain, especially because you don't even know, would this surgery even wind up killing Ellie?
He's the opposite of Han Solo.
Yeah.
But it really draws me back to his conversation with his brother Tommy of we used to kill people. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
He had the death of his daughter turned him into this cold person who didn't care and was murderous. And then the person that finally thawed out his heart and let it grow 10 sizes larger, which, like the Grinch, which is a medical emergency. See a doctor, don't kill them. He had to go back to being that person to save her.
Yeah.
And I think, I'm fascinated by what chapters would come directly after this, because I do think their fundamental relationship could never be the same as what it just was, because now both of them have changed. 2 different things in the past 2 episodes that have changed them, what they would probably believe to be monsters.
When Ellie asks him, was anyone hurt, when he tells her, because that's not what Ellie wants. Ellie doesn't want anyone to be hurt. And I think that, Marlene was her last connection to Riley, her last connection to her mother, who she never got to know. That's not what she wanted. And Joel knows that. And that's why he can't tell her, because what will she do if she knows the truth? He's not willing to take that risk.
And if the actions you take to save someone are to the point where you know that they wouldn't forgive you for it, then you're still in the same situation you would be had you not taken those actions to begin with.
This is what we talk about when we talk about attachments.
I think it's also tough, and I don't remember if they mentioned who it was that did it, but this brings me back to the episode where Joel's talking about all of those innocent people that essentially were like a skeleton field. Is this part of what Joel was doing before then? And that's how he knows so much about it, right? Was this actually like he and Tommy's doing and like the crew they were running with? And that's how he knows that like it's safe because they're not doing it anymore. Exactly what happened because he was part of it, right?
And now how is Joel any different from the guy that took his daughter?
For me, the ultimate takeaway from this story and what seemingly solidified this story as one of the best that I'd ever played was their ability to tell the story of a strained relationship that ended strained.
Yeah.
In the beginning, their relationship was fragile.
Cargo.
Yeah, because they didn't care. Now their relationship at the end is strained because they care about each other.
Yeah, because Neil Druckmann said that in episode 6, when they're traveling from Jackson to the university, is the happiest Joel and Ellie will ever be. I'd never thought about it like that before, but it's so true because that was the moment that they chose each other and nothing horrible had happened yet to their relationship or to either of them. They hadn't been put through the ringer yet. They'd chosen each other. They were getting to know each other better. And then all hell broke loose and it was one thing after the other. And they are both forever changed.
I love that there were I love that there were story beats throughout each pivotal moment in their relationship. Like the first time they started to kind of warm up to each other, Tess dies. And then they choose each other. Joel gets hurt and then she's all alone. They finally, like, even though that she's in shock and going through the trauma of what she had just experienced, and then they get to the giraffes and they're like, finally, we're over the last hurdle. And then
we're finally here.
And it's also, I think so much about Ellie, what Ellie says to Joel in the draft scene, because pretty much the same as in the game. There were a few little additions that they put in for the show. In that moment, we and Joel know what Ellie's choice is. We know what her purpose is. And she's decided that. It's clear. But that's like juxtaposed with her telling him, when it's all done, we'll go wherever you want to go. Like, we'll have this future that you envision for us once I finish this. And so there's the promise of something. And I think Joel holds on to that as his reason for getting her out, because he's like, she said that this is the future we're going to have. This is what she wants to. It wasn't just the cure. I think that makes it such a gray area again, because neither of them were giving Ellie a choice.
Probably knows that there's a chance she ain't coming out of there. If she doesn't, all of this was for nothing. All those other people who died to get her here. And it's so cool that Joel told the story about, like, when he tried to, take his own life, but he flinched. Doesn't know why he flinched. And in this moment, he flinched again. So then the other question comes: Is Ellie truly old enough to make that decision? Is he her guardian? I mean, there's.
But then, like, what right does he have to that? Is also the question. I think that I know that Joel views that she is a child, and that to Joel, she is his child.
She didn't also choose him explicitly.
Yeah.
But still, even then, like, if we're arguing what does her, like, is she capable of making that choice, would it then also nullify that choice? And it's a very complicated.
Yeah, and that's what it's supposed to be. That's why I love this story.
This is the moral grays of Last of Us.
I'm actually going to reverse my thoughts on it, because I do think it was wrong in the moment. I think it was wrong to take that choice away from her. But before they continued, they did find what seemed to be a safe haven that had protection, that had at least a decent chance at survival of the people there. He lied to her. He's trying to force her to have a childhood. He's trying to force her to be happy. He's trying to force her to give her something that Sarah never had and never could have. If he leaves her a note or something like that, she could end up being studied at any point. Maybe he'll tell her later. Maybe he'll leave her a note after, he passes. And maybe he'll let her make that choice when she's an adult, But it's also, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be right now. Although, bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. But maybe he's holding on to something like that as well.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think-
a very
I don't think he thought about
decision.
that. Listen,
Well-
I like Joel. I'm trying.
No, listen, I love Joel. Joel is like, I have firmly attached myself to him as a father. He's a father, but I feel like that means that I've thought about this so much with him that I know that decision was purely, he could not survive losing another child. And even though part of this was his mind telling him that he was doing this for Ellie's sake, it was, in my opinion, partially that, but mostly he was not about to lose another child. He has the ability to save Ellie. Mm-hmm. He's going to do that. Like, I think my decision, like my understanding of it now is that, and that he wanted to give her peace. He truly did. He wanted to give her peace and a childhood and a second chance at life. Was that his to give is always going to be the question.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, we have no choice but to meander around the ambiguities that this story has laid out before us. And a lot of what I
about.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything that Danielle said has totally flipped the script in my mind. The only thing I will say, I don't know if this is in contention or not, but like a lot of my thoughts around it is informed by what happens in part 2. We'll have to leave it at that.
No, and I think that's one of the things that I gravitated, or I latched onto very early on when I first started playing the game too, was they do so well at telling the story of these characters. And again, it's it's part of the name. It's The Last of Us, right? It's meant to be this gray space of like, what would you do in this situation? No answer ultimately is really going to feel like a good answer from somebody else's perspective.
Yeah.
Because there's no more systems in place to make sure that everything's fair and that everything works out okay and stuff like that. It is all of that's gone. You're looking out for you and yourself. When does your justification for your own survival to be part of The Last of Us, when does that become no longer something that you can justify?
I mean, it's the trolley problem.
Yeah, it is.
No,
it
100%.
absolutely is. And that's why I love it so much, because I think I've said this before, there's no heroes or villains in this last part of the story. Both sides, Joel and the Fireflies, are right and wrong for different reasons. Who you decide is the most right is entirely up to, like we've said, perspective, and entirely up to your own experiences. Like I know Troy Baker said that he understood Joel's decision a lot more once he had a child. And because before, when he first made part 1, he didn't have a kid yet. And he asked Neil Druckmann, like, why would Joel make that choice? I don't truly understand it. And then he had a kid and he was like, I get it, because your child becomes your world. It doesn't matter. People say they want to save the world. What happens when your world is this one person? That's who you save.
Is the concept of humanity even something you value anymore if that part of humanity doesn't include,
the person who means the most to you?
Also, considering the trek they just went through, is humanity worth saving? Did it need anyone on this journey that was
do we
worth?
Want a cure for people like David? Like,
that goes into like a whole other.
That's another question entirely.
Yeah,
I do have this desire to tell really quick what was informing me from part 2. So I'm going to deafen you both really quickly for like 5 seconds.
That's okay. It'll give me time to tinker with my
and spoilers to people watching.
Yes. Spoiler alert for part 2. Just from part 2, when they're in their community, she goes on to live and love again. And that's primarily what I was like, oh, she gets that chance to like kind of like go like overcome this want to find an end. Like, it's kind of like, oh, I really want to like, I want my time to come. But then like I'm also afforded this chance to start over. And
I don't think she views it that way until the end of part 2.
That's what I mean. But like, yeah. Because
like even when she has it, she's constantly thinking about what could have been. And especially when Joel confirms what he did, she goes through all of that, and it's not until she comes to that realization herself. And I think that's what's so beautiful about it. But yeah, I know I totally get what you mean. And I don't have like
It's one of those like you don't know you want it until you have it, right? It's like
yeah. But like, does that make it less?
No, it doesn't. I'm just
and yeah, no. I completely understand. People just always think, because I get very analytical about Joel, even though I love him a lot, and people always think that I hate him or that I completely disagree with all of his choices. And I'm like, no, I understand them. I just think there's more to it. They want us to think about it a little bit deeper than just surface level. But yeah, no, I get what you mean.
Welcome back, people. Final thoughts on the season finale.
Like, yeah, no, it's just it's a lot. I didn't know how the story ended, and now I do. And it's weird because I had started playing the game and I finished watching the show. And so it's almost like it doesn't feel real, that it's like, no, let me finish the game, and then it ends happy. The show is the one that did this to me, not the game. I don't know. I mean, it is a good story. So I think that's part of the magic that is video games, because it allows us to play in this headspace and deal with these moral quandaries, obviously without having to actually make these decisions. But it's fascinating, terrifying, all of the above.
I think you said it best there. It's a great story, but not all stories have happy endings or, clearly delineated lines of morality. No good guys versus bad guys. This is a story.
Yeah.
It was great. Mm-hmm. Can't wait for more.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm very pleased with this adaptation as a whole. I knew I was going to love it because it's The Last of Us and it had Pedro Pascal in it. And so I was like, I'm willing to overlook a lot for those two facts on their own. That's how important this is to me. I'm blown away by everything they managed to do, the emotion they managed to capture, how they've made things about the game resonate with me so much more by changing stuff and by truly understanding what adaptation is meant to do. Yeah. And also just having such a high level of care for the story. You can't just attribute that to Neil Druckmann being involved, even though I think that definitely helped. Craig Mazin is a big fan of the game. I think when you're a big fan of The Last of Us, like a truly big fan of it, you want to do it justice. I don't think we would have had this show the way it was without Craig Mazin at the forefront of it. And then even just, the actors who were all involved with this, even the ones who didn't play the game, they approached these characters with such care. I imagine the crew, like everyone who did set design, just took this so seriously. And I appreciate that so much because, like I said, this is not just my favorite video game, this is my favorite story portrayed this way. And to see it taken care of like that means so much to me. And I'm just so glad. And I can't wait for season 2 to see what else they do.
I mean, it's completely evident how everybody involved cherished it.
Yeah.
Not just valued it, but there was so much love put into this. And I think it's the epitome of a masterclass of how to do an adaptation from not just a video game, but any other medium to a show.
From the interviews and things I've seen, they also really resonated with the story. To give Ellie the ability to be Ellie's mom in this. And I don't know. I think it's
to give wonderfully done. To be the chance to just get his mouth chopped.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a difference between Harrison Ford and Star Wars and Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones, right?
Yeah.
We get to see people actually want to be a part of the world, the project as a whole, no matter what. Everybody involved just wants to be there.
That will do it for this reaction to the season finale of The Last of Us. Huge shout out and props to Danielle and Cal for joining us for this whole season. Series regulars now, if I can say so. Danielle, Cal, why don't you go let them know where they can find you and stick with you until the next time.
I'm on TikTok at Written in Star Wars and Twitter at DannyS394. Those are my two main ones. So Star Wars and The Last of Us.
Yes. And for anyone interested, Danielle puts out some of the most thoughtful, insightful, deep dives into clones, into all sorts of characters. So if you enjoyed the depth that she went into in Last of Us, that's the only type of stuff she makes content on.
Some of it is a little,
this was
you know,
spicy.
yeah, some of it is not spicy, but
No, but like here we're all purely reactionary, right? We're reacting to what we're watching. We're
Yeah.
taking our emotions and turning them into words directly. But a lot of times in these other spaces, it's very much more taking the time to think about
Yeah.
and formulate what you want to say and then put it out there. So I think Danielle's content is very much so the same eloquently put information, but you know, significant. Every time I watch them, I'm always like, God, I didn't even think about that.
there's a reason.
Thank you.
The reason it's called Written in the Stars. I always call you Written in the Stars because I know the pun. I know it's the pun, but your thoughts are written in the stars, and they're,
Oh, thanks.
you know. Cal, what about you, man? You
I'm
got
really
a great
good too.
stream.
Don't worry about me.
Follow
Bye,
him
guys.
or don't. I don't know.
No.
Twitch.tv
No,
/Cal4.
Yeah, exactly. So I need to sit down and make more TikToks where I'm actually putting in effort.
But Cal has built a really great community of people that'll jump on the streams and you can game with.
Which
Yeah,
we
I'm
will
only there to
as soon as Last of Us comes out. That is the goal, is to play that all the way through.
And
Because
we
I never get to
literally.
finish it. So. Yeah, and only cry a little bit.
All right,
No
and,
promises on that one.
Choco.
Yeah, I'm Darth Choco here. You can follow me on TikTok and on the YouTube. So Darth Choco. I promise to make more content. It's been interesting times at the Choco household, but things are looking up.
Yeah, and you can also find us in London next month, April 4th to April 11th. We'll be there. From the 7th to 11th, we'll be in at the Convention Center XL, and on Sunday on the HoloNet news stage on the panel. So if you guys want to come hang out with us and meet us
Show some love.
in Star Wars Celebration, come on down. Danielle,
I didn't know you all were going to be on there. Congratulations.
Did I wish I could be there. I'm so sad.
well, it's not a DYAD in the Force thing, but we are guests on a panel.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Also, check out Star Wars English class as well on Saturday. Lots of people on the podcast stage for Star Wars Celebration. But yeah, if you want to meet us or come hang out with us and say hi, you can find us in London. Danielle's in London, or we'll be there too.
I'll be there as well. Yep.
Yay.
All 4 days celebration. Yeah.
But yes, that'll do it for this reaction. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on the bell notification to know when we post new videos. But as always, what did we learn today, Choco?
Oh man, we learned that you live long enough, you're gonna turn into the villain. Life's got a lot of grays. Not at all. I did not think of anything.
Well, with that said, we'll see you guys next season.
Bye.
Peace.